Okay, awesome. I'm sorry for everyone that waited. So let us start. Thank you very much for being here for the first episode of W.T.F. We Talk Facts Decentraland. And yeah, this is our first episode. And from now on, we're meeting every second Tuesday here because I think that we need to. But first, let me explain some of the rules of this format. We will have one controversial topic per episode so that we stay focused. We only have one speaker at a time. We have no direct back and forth between users, and all communication flows through me, the host, and we keep it short and sweet. We want to respect everyone's time. So let me start right from the beginning. So I created a space out of frustration, to be honest, and because I really love this community. But sometimes it feels like we've forgotten how to talk to each other, especially when I look at Discord or social media. We avoid things and we whisper and we guess what people mean instead of asking. And when something's uncomfortable, we push it into the background and pretend it's not there. I don't think that this is how we build a better Decentraland, and that is not how we grow as a community. So this space is my way of saying let's do better. Let's learn to talk about the hard stuff, not with shame or with drama, but with honesty and with care. So let's name what's real and find our way through it together. And so just that we're all on the same space, on the same page. This space isn't about the truth, it's about your truth. So everyone here brings their own experience, their own angle, and that's exactly the point. WTF DCL is a space for subjective voices, for real people, real feelings, and real takes, even when they clash. So my role tonight isn't to judge or to take any sides. I'm here to hold the frame, to give us just enough structure so we can explore the mess without getting lost in it. So please speak freely and speak honestly, and let's see what we can learn from each other. So, whatever your take is, you're welcome here, as long as we keep it respectful, open, and grounded. This is a safe space, yes, but it's also a sharp one. We're not here for comfort, we are here for clarity. And tonight's topic is one of those sharp ones, alt accounts. So, take a breath, stay curious, friends, and let's talk friends. So, alt accounts. This is what we are about talking tonight. We're doing that because the topic recently kind of blew up in the DCL space. And for who missed it, Annauer, who had publicly stepped away from Decentraland, and he even built a mausoleum for his avatar, he came back under a new identity. So, and this alt didn't just quietly hang out. It started asking questions about the DAO, about even Annauer himself. But before we dive deeper into that, let's take a second to just define what we actually mean when we say alt accounts. An alt account is basically a second identity, a new wallet, a new name, but the same person behind it. Sometimes people use alts for privacy, for testing, or just to explore without the weight of their main identity. So it's not always a bad thing. But in communities like in Decentraland, where identity, trust, and governance are all so closely connected, alt accounts can raise real questions. So are they harmless, or are they manipulative, protective, or maybe deceptive? It all depends on the context, and that's exactly why we're talking about tonight. So I'm really glad Annauer is here tonight as himself and open, sharing his perspective, because let's be honest, I think a lot of us were surprised, and I'm sure we all have questions. What makes someone come back through an alt? What's going on in that moment emotionally, mentally? Is it curiosity, protection, strategy, or maybe something totally different? So let's talk about what actually happened. A few months ago, Annauer disappeared from Decentraland. No big goodbye, just silence. He built a mausoleum for his avatar, turned off his socials, and he was gone. Then a few months later, a new user showed up in World, and maybe you even know him, Glaive. He started hanging out in World, spending time with the community, visiting events, and asking questions about the DAO and even about himself. These were very critical questions and thoughtful ones, like the kind that actually made people stop and think. And I personally spent some time with Glaive back then, tried to answer his questions, and yeah, explain DAO stuff and the usual onboarding. Yeah, and jokes on me. As if a brand new user would be that interested in governance, right? I mean, who joins the Decentraland and immediately starts deep diving into proposal dynamics? But hey, it worked. He had us all fooled, at least for a time, because then Hourglass also started to chat in the DAO Discord, and that's where things shifted. H. Barkos called it out. Hey, that's Arnauer. How he knew, no one really knows. Maybe it was a good guess, maybe more. But after a bit of back and forth, Arnauer confirmed it. Yes, Arroglove was his alt. And now he's here tonight as himself and ready to talk about it. So, now that we have laid it out, I would like to bring Arnauer in. So, Arnauer, I'm gonna put you up as a speaker. I hope you can hear me, and I hope we can hear you.
Hey, Toxic, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed your intro and everything you said, and I'm honored to be here for the first episode of what I think is pretty necessary platform.
So we will see how it went. I'm super nervous. I hope we can get this very structured here. This is what I like. So I already laid it out. And I want to thank you for showing up tonight and being open to this. I know that maybe it's not very easy to talk about it, you know. And before we go into the bigger questions, I would like to start very simple by asking you, how did it feel in the moment when you realized that people were starting to figure it out? When H.P. Barkos called it out in the DAO Discord and things started to unravel, that went through your mind?
I think my main concern was kind of what personal information I had betrayed that gave it away. It seemed like H. Pravakos had some sort of insight into my account somehow, and that was able to connect those two identities. And I think that was my main kind of question there is
It really
how that
came out of
happened.
the
And
blue.
yeah, um, and obviously I kind of feel like I deserve to be exposed now. now. So uh, it was a little bit of a surprise. I felt like a little bit of my privacy had been invaded, and it was definitely interesting seeing the dynamic between Gino and HP for that, where Gino was basically saying, "Hey, we have this DAO committee member who's doxing people in the chat. I hope that the people acting as mods here are going to take action on this."
Hmm. So you said you felt betrayed by this, and this is a topic I would like to talk about with you tonight, because I think some of the users here in Decentraland may feel betrayed by you. If it's okay, I would go to the next questions and just ask you very straight, because I'm totally curious, because in the last few weeks, um, many users accused other users of being unknower. And so I would like to ask you, are there any other secret identities beside our glove? How many unknowers are out there?
Well, real quick, I'll clarify that I didn't mean to say that I felt betrayed. I was more saying I wasn't sure what
Mm.
of my own information that I had accidentally given away, basically, that um, revealed my identity, I guess. But to answer your question, for the most part, yes, RO was my only alt. There was a short time here before I got exposed as RO Glaive, where I was here promoting a neat little project I've been working on creating with my daughter, and I used another persona for that, which is just a persona I use on her YouTube channel, so that I'm a cooler and more world building kind of character than just dad. Uh, but as I found out, if you just show up here out of the blue and start posting links, that's pretty much a red flag for people, because we've become so accustomed to scams. And I know at least one community member was aware of that brand and probably knew it was me right away. But since I had already broken the community's trust before anyone even really knew about RO, I think that was another red flag for the person or small handful of people who knew about that brand I was building with my daughter. And in their eyes, this might have looked like some sort of phishing attack or otherwise like a malicious site that was designed to social engineer people. And so I guess that's why the mods of the CBD Discord pinged everyone to warn them about that kind of thing happening. But I promise that in that case, my actions as that third persona were completely innocent and just intended to bring a little bit of like some tiny hits of joy to people here. So if anyone saw any images of AI generated extraterrestrial flower species getting shared around DCL, that was also me.
Okay, I think this topic it's so big. Maybe let us start at the beginning, if this is okay for you, so that we all can better understand what caused this situation, because I think it's very value that we can talk about alt accounts with someone that had an alt account. And if this is okay for you, I would like to ask you, what was really going on in your head when you left the Decentraland back then? Did you already know there that you would come back, or was Arrowglaive something that totally surprised even you?
Um, Give me a second here.
So what was going on in your head when you left the Decentraland? What was your thinking? You even built a mausoleum for yourself.
So toxic. I guess I was just starting to feel incredibly misunderstood and a little bit taken advantage of. And I think part of it stemmed from my experience at the Regenesis Summit last summer. Felt like I came there prepared with some ideas that just kind of got shut down in my working group. So I never even got to present them to the larger group that was there. And that kind of discouraged me from even trying to contribute much to discussions at that point because I got the vibe that I was just derailing something that was already determined to be the plan. All three working groups kind of came up with a very similar outline for the DAO regenesis and the structure we now know. And it just felt like I was there to make it look like everyone had a say. But honestly, it seemed like 90% of the DAO structure with the council and the regenesis labs was already planned out. It was already in motion. And I tried to adapt my ideas to fit within the plan, but the answer I got from my working group was that it was maybe just too radical and people weren't gonna like it or be ready for it yet. And so I kind of shelved it. And so some of you may have seen when I came back, I posted a forum post when I came back from Lisbon, the Regenesis Summit. I posted a forum post that outlined an idea for a program I was calling contribution based incentives or CBI. And my idea was to have a program that combined positive aspects of universal basic income and positive aspects of a reputation score, while ideally avoiding the negative social impacts of how these systems have been implemented in real life. So I basically designed it
Okay,
so
but what I have in my mind is that this was several months after Regenesis Summit. You left the Decentraland. What was the final straw that made you say, okay, um, because there were several months in between where nothing happened, where you still were a part of the community, you came back, you talked about Regenesis and everything, but there must have been one final thought before you said, fuck it all, I'm just going, I'm going now, and maybe I will never come back. And what I would like to know is, when you decided to step back, was it in your mind, I can come back as an alt account, or you know, what was the motivation to really go away and then come back with an alt account?
sure. I mean, there's a lot that kind of built up, and it was kind of there was a lot that happened that I could probably spend hours going into before the final straw that really broke the camel's back. Long story short, it just started to feel like a lot of the people here were being kind of inauthentic with me. And I think the final straw was when a discussion came up on the CBD, the weekly space, where everyone was talking about how there just wasn't any money to be made here anymore, and we should all be working for free to keep Decentraland afloat, and how it should kind of like be an honor to be here working on this. And I don't know about you guys, but I just didn't like the idea of working for free for a company with like $1 billion valuation or whatever. So when I expressed that feeling, someone in the community said I had a cash grabber mentality, and then as the discussion progressed, they told me I was a racist because I equated free work to slavery. Um, and I don't know. I guess being anti-slavery was racist in their eyes. I don't know, but that was it was right after the election here in the U.S. and there's a lot of discussing real world politics, and I think that just bled into our conversations. And when someone called me a racist, I was like, okay, it feels like people are deliberately misunderstanding me here and finding ways to make me into some sort of monster.
Okay,
And
so that this doesn't get too long here, you felt misunderstood totally. This was why you said, okay, I'm going to leave the Central now, and this chapter is closed for me. But then you came back as an alt account. Was this, why did you come back for an alt and not as unknower, as yourself? Was it because you were maybe where you feared or curious, or Was it for you a way to test the waters before Annauer comes back to, give our gloves the stage first?
Yeah, I guess this is where the real controversy comes in, and where I think I made the wrong move, and people ended up feeling betrayed. So RO became a bit of an exposure therapy for me. For somebody who's battled with thoughts of suicide a lot throughout my life, one of the thoughts I have in my absolute lowest moments is that nobody really wants me here anyway, and that nobody would even really miss me if I were to just suddenly disappear. And maybe some of you have battled with those thoughts at some point too. But not knowing that RO would one day be exposed, I try to see how some of you really felt about me, and that's why I say that RO was a little bit of an exposure therapy for me. It was a way to test my theory. Yeah, I acted like a newcomer trying to find out the history of DCL and the DAO and pretended that I had just stumbled across these memorials to someone named Unknower. And some people thought that, maybe they were part of a quest or something. So I played into that rumor a little bit. And I was actually getting ready to start another alt account and build a venue and host some events there. But then RO ended up getting exposed, and my whole social experiment kind of came to a halt before it got to play out. Um,
Okay, so you say
but
you wanted to play it out. So did you had like a plan in your mind and it got stopped by H. Rivakos in the DAO Discord by calling you out? So was there more stuff that you wanted to do as an alt account that maybe yourself as Annauer couldn't have done in the Decentraland?
I originally created RO as a kind of character from a book that I was like a book idea that I have. I've sort of been like slowly putting together pieces of it on the side. And um, I did want to sort of start building out that world here when I came back. And I just really wanted to come back without the baggage of an identity that I felt like I had ruined the reputation of. Like I felt like I couldn't show my face here again because people didn't trust me due to my grant. People didn't trust me because just the fact that I went to the summit in Lisbon, some people were saying that I was like colluding with the people in power, and it was literally the opposite. So,
So
yeah.
our glove allowed you to watch your old self from the outside. Like you could observe people, how they would react to Annauer while you not were being him. So this was part of, let me call it, experiment at this point.
Yeah, I think it was just, the metaverse gives us a lot of unique opportunities to do things that we couldn't really do in real life. And one of those things is to figure out the question that I think all of us have burning inside of us sometimes is like, how do other people see me? Like, what do other people think of me? In the true sense, like, so I came here to kind of learn about the deepest flaws, like what like kind of integrate my shadow in a sense,
Mm,
because if I feel like people here are being inauthentic with me, then there's no way for me to get like the truth of how I can improve to be a better member of this
yeah,
community.
but
So
isn't this very deeply paradox that you wanted to prove the authenticity of the DCL community while being so absolutely not authentic yourself? Like, Mm, did you felt like you were betraying your friends in this point, or did you just say, I can justify this for me, so this is something I need to do for myself, and I go for it?
um, it's, yeah, you bring up some good points. Uh, I guess I kind of felt like people weren't afraid to offend me, when
Mm,
they felt like they needed to call me out on this or that. And I felt like people varying degrees were being kind of inauthentic with me. But, I think it also kind of made me realize that maybe I wasn't being that authentic with all of you either. I've been kind of wearing this mask of trying to be like get approval and not offend anybody, and I think that kind of prevents us from having some real conversations.
mm. So it's very interesting, and I thank you very much for all the insights, Anna, really, because I feel that it's hard for you to talk about it, but I think we need to talk about the hard topics. So thank you very much for being here. I would like to ask you, because we already talked about lines, and I would like to ask, do you have the feeling that you crossed some lines with this experiment, and you talked about how you wanted to see how others see you. And did you cross the line for you personally, or do you think it was just fine what you did?
I think I was really walking a tightrope here, and I don't think I managed to balance it very well. I'm sure many would say that I crossed way too far into the realm of manipulation, and it really didn't feel good trying to get people to talk about me behind my back. Obviously, I was a little afraid what I was going to hear, right?
Okay, so this is a question I wanted to ask you anyways. So yeah, I think it's important to answer for yourself. You don't have to do this here on the space, but where the line between healthy anonymity and manipulation is, I think this is something that we all need to answer for ourselves. But yeah, what did this whole experience teach you about yourself? Because you said you wanted to hear what other people are thinking, and now you got your answer. Was it what you expected, or are you speechless? I don't know. I can really don't understand how you must feel.
I think most people kind of said, most people were nice. They said they didn't like talk. I don't think most people said like their real worst thoughts about me to a stranger. Um, and maybe that's better. We're not like around here destroying the reputations of people who have left. But I didn't really get. I don't really feel like I got what I wanted out of it, which was to really understand where I failed you guys.
Maybe the better way would have been to ask them directly, but just my opinion, and very easy to say after everything happened. If you could go
It's
back,
hard
it
when you
is
feel like
hard.
you're being kind of ganged up on and purposely misunderstood,
Do
Like,
you have the feeling
how do you
it's
have
no different than before?
I do feel like it's probably not any different, but I just don't care anymore. Like,
Okay.
I'm at the point where I think I'm at the acceptance point of grieving. Because this was really kind of a grieving process for me. I went through denial, anger, um, bargaining, depression, and
Mm.
now I'm accepting like not all of you guys are gonna like me, and maybe I'm too much for some people, but I'm not gonna be fake with you guys anymore. Like, you're gonna see the real unknower now, and if if I say some things that don't come out right, then you should ask me what I really mean because there's something deeper there, and I'm willing to talk about it. And what you said earlier in your intro, like we too often kind of just jump to conclusions and assume we know exactly what somebody's deep inner experience is telling them, and we don't really dive much deeper. And I think that can lead a lot of people to feel like they're not being heard.
Mm. So what I'm asking myself when I listen to you, because you're talking about you want that people, maybe you don't want it anymore, but it was something that you wanted, that they know your real self. And I think you already hear it yourself when you're talking with me about it, that it sounds very paradox, that you wanted something from the community that you weren't willing in the last few months as Arrow to give to them. So would you, if you could go back, would you do it the same way again? Or would there be something that you would say, no, I wouldn't cross this line, or maybe I would do it totally different?
I don't know. I mean, I try not to live in regret, so I don't know if I could say I would do it differently. I don't know if there was a great way to do what I was really trying to do. Even if I straight up say, "Hey, can you guys give me the most brutally honest feedback of what you think of me and what my worst flaws are?" Like, is anything constructive really going to come out of that? Like, because some people might not like me for reasonable reasons. Um, and I don't know. Some part of me wants to like clarify and have and be understood and make sure people know who I really am. But it's hard when people seem to not want to get to know you. They want you to be something else.
So you became someone totally else for the community to see how they react. Okay. So, Anna, I really thank you very, very much. This was probably not easy. And what I would love to do is now to open the stage to the bigger topic, alt accounts. And this is a theme of today's first episode. alt accounts, freedom of identity, or abuse of trust. And this is not a part of the event where I would like to have you, Anawa, as the speaker with me up here and invite the community to share their thoughts. But I want to have it very structured here. I don't want any fighting. So please, if someone has a direct question to you, wait a second and I will give it to you. So if this would be okay with you, I would now allow the speakers to come up. I'm sure some of us have to say something regarding this topic. And for everyone who needs maybe a little bit of, a little bit of help, just this question, how do you feel about alt accounts? And yeah, raise your hand and I will allow you as a speaker here. And yeah, please respect the topic, friends. And who wants to be first?
Toxic, am I allowed to ask about or clarify a question that came up in World in the chat?
Yeah. Wait, I'm gonna read the chat in World. So also, users in Decentraland are very welcome to ask questions here. In the future, we'll have a very better way of everyone in World to interact with us. Right now, I depend on the chat, so give me a second. Okay, Dr. Drip and Jared, would you feel comfortable with coming up here and talking with us? I would like, to be honest, I would like to keep it on the alt account topic because I think this is a very interesting and also hard topic to talk about. I'm very glad that Anawa is here and I know he's a controversial figure in this whole ecosystem. And I'm sure we could make a whole episode just about, I think, Anawa, you called it your villain arc, and about all these topics that are arising. I would love to hear more about it because right now in Decentraland, there are discussions about the grant that you had and also about your last actions before you left Decentraland. I think many of us haven't even seen any of it. This is like many things are happening here in Decentraland that they are not visible for everything. I want to be honest, I don't think that in this space that we can answer all these questions that are arising here. And I would like to keep it as focused on the topic as possible. But I totally understand that especially Dr. Drip and Jared have much to say. But I don't know if this is the right space to do it. But I'm totally open to try it. And if you would like to come up and talk about it, we can try because this is the first episode. I'm sure we will have many, many more and we will learn more how to talk to each other. So let me see. Okay, Jared is getting ready to come up and speak. And as I said, I would be very happy if everyone respected the main topic and also that Anawa is here. He's opening up to us. I'm happy about that. And I don't want that anyone here that's coming up as a guest to speak about controversial topics must be afraid of anything. So let's keep it civilized. But I know, friends, you all can do this. So, okay. I've got no opinion about alts, as Dr. Drip saying, just adding context to the reference of me. I understand, Dr. Drip, and thank you for bringing some context to everything, because the topic is big and it's huge. And to be honest, I myself was very, for me, it felt like being kicked out of my safe space as I knew that an alt account is running around in Decentraland. I myself felt a little bit, or maybe much betrayed, because onboarding Decentraland is always it's time consuming. And when you finally find someone that's interested in the DAO and to talk about things, it's frustrating knowing that this user was no new user, but someone old coming back. So, okay, Jared, we are waiting. We're waiting for you to come here and talk with us. I'm gonna invite him. And friends, sorry that this space is a little bit chaotic. It's my first time hosting an X space. I'm very happy to have so many of you here. I see 24 user in world in Decentraland, everyone that's listening right now. We are talking about alt accounts in the metaverse in Decentraland. If you would like to log in, feel free. We are in the Top Hub world. Also, thank you everyone who's watching on Twitch. We have 12 viewers there. It's much appreciated. And yeah, this space, I really need to say it, can only live if the community is coming up and sharing their opinions. This is the whole point about it. I don't want to hear myself talking so much here. I'm happy that Anauer talked a little bit about himself and his experience, but I want to hear your opinion because this is what it's about. We all need to learn to talk about hard things, about hard topics, to name them, and to be not dramatic about it. So if anyone here has an opinion on alt accounts, or maybe you would like to share how you feel when you found out that we had alt accounts in our space. Like, did it change how you trust people here? Is this something that happened? So I saw a request coming up and now it's gone. So whoever wanted to come up and speak, please do it again. Would be awesome. Some other questions that I would like to hear from the community answered. Did you ever suspect that someone was an alt and said nothing? And I would like to know, why didn't you choose to speak up? Many different things I would like to talk with you all about. So come up and speak. Okay, so since no one want to be, okay, someone is coming up to speaking and it's Jared. I'm gonna approve you and welcome Jared. So what's your opinion on alt accounts? And please, let's focus on the topic.
That you didn't invite me to be the guest about alt accounts, just as as a Discord alt account champion. But I think that I originally, before having to troubleshoot why Twitter wouldn't let me up here, which distracted me, I wanted to say, because I think that like why a person makes alt accounts is, I think, really like the motivation, I think, is very different for like, because I've seen people try to conflate my own Discord alt accounts, which have never pretended to be anything besides me, minus Chef Margot. Shout out Chef Margot. Great idea from an audience member. It was a great character. But short of that character, which is just a last-ditch effort to not get banned for the 15th time from the Dow Discord, unjustly, in my humble opinion, I just think that in general, the what motivates a person to make a alt account is very different, and I think does kind of structure and frame the entire like topic and conversation around that person's motivation and actions and why they did what they did. So while I understand you don't necessarily want to discuss the topics around grants and like the things that like led to a knower feeling,
I
as
would
though he
love,
failed the community. I think, because
I
I
would
do think
love
the
to
context
discuss
is
them.
important.
Jared, sorry, I would love to discuss them, but I think we should keep it structured on one topic, and maybe the next one can be, or even Anna feels inspired and wants to share more about it, or maybe this would be what I would love to see happen after this, that more conversations are happening, and maybe, we can all grow together. So you said, Jared, you yourself are a little bit disappointed that you were not my guest for tonight's show, because you got called many times an alt account. I think in sometimes it was right, and other times it wasn't right. So what did this make with you and with your mentality?
I don't necessarily understand the question. I apologize. I mean, I was being half facetious about being but no, I mean, I think my point is just that like there's a difference between someone who is banned from the platform unjustly and debatable. But I've found very few people who can make a compelling argument to defend any of my bans as of recently. I can just get radio silence. But there's a difference between a person making an alt account to subvert the power of authority, and then a person making an alt account so that they can question their former friends to ask them what they think of them. Like, there's just like it's just a very different inherent like motivation for a person to be making these choices and strategies.
So do you think, as someone who made alt accounts themselves, that there are reasons where alt accounts are totally okay to use in a decentralized system like Decentraland? Like, so it is freedom of identity?
Yeah, I would argue that like an alt account is an alt account like when you create an entirely new personality or being a fake, or is an alt account when you just have an alternative account where you're very clearly made your skin green, your hair is blue, you're clearly you being yourself, just flouting the rules of a authoritarian. I didn't use the word I was told I shouldn't use by my counsel, an authoritarian decision from a power that you find is acting unjustly.
Okay, what you're talking about right now is a topic that I would love to have an episode about. You're talking about YAML with an I at the end getting banned from the client, right?
Yes, but again, I
But
think
was
that
this an alt account in your
well, no, but that banning is why I made an alt account so that I could then log in for the following week. So like I think that it is relevant, like the reasoning, like what inspired your creation of your alt account, I think is very relevant to the topic. So it's like
so alt accounts are not ever bad. There are reasons we can make alt accounts and it's okay.
Yeah, like I think that making an alt account where you're clearly, pretending to be someone else and doing your damnedest to not be identified for who you are, and then to go as far as to like inquiz your former people about yourself is much different than making an alt account to, flout authority and, stand up for, and to continue to like, enjoy a decentralized space. So I just think that I think those are differences worth, making.
Thank you very much for sharing this. I would really like to know how it made you felt when you needed to come back as an alt account. Many users, I think, knew it was you. This was different to the experience that Annauer made because he came as a total different new person to the space, as someone nobody suspected to be Annauer, I think. At least I didn't suspect anything, and I would say majority of the community was also just like me, not suspecting anything. But
so hold on. How do I feel? How do I feel about which thing?
How do you feel about coming back as an alt account to a space where everyone knows you're Jared, but still an alt account? Did it make you lose, maybe lose a little bit of your own digital identity? Because I know and I remember you couldn't use your own variables back then. You made a new wallet, and
I mean, yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy it. It was not particularly a good time. I wouldn't recommend it. I would argue that that entire process, which is a topic for another conversation, as you made clear, has thoroughly ruined my ability to enjoy the platform in general. But that is a different conversation. I mean, honestly, I think that it's no, I don't think. I think it's a hollow experience. Like, it's weird because you can still very clearly, and that was like I think kind of to encapsulate the point, which again, that borderline off-topic thing. But like the reason I needed alt was I was banned for impersonating someone when at no point did I actively make an effort to impersonate them. And I think that was highlighted by when my alt account had green skin and blue hair, and everyone, and even though I think maybe it didn't for a second, and people still were like, oh yeah, that's obviously Jared, based on how he's talking and communicating and all any basis thing. So like, I don't think in general having an alt account will prevent you, like if you're trying to be your authentic self, stops being able to connect with your friends in a meaningful way. But I think that it still is not a particularly satisfying user experience.
Okay, so let's come back to a question, because everyone is very warmly invited to come up and share their experience on alt accounts and also their thoughts about it. I would like to answer one question today, and this is the very topic of the whole episode. Is it a freedom of identity to make an alt account, or is it abuse of trust? And for that, I would like to ask Jared, did you feel, I don't know, did you feel like your trust in Decentraland was gone when you found out that, for example, Annauer was an alt account and roaming around in Decentraland? Because it could be anyone could be an alt account here, and anyone could make one. And this is something that was brought to our attention. And I think we were not very, at least for myself, before this happened, I wasn't aware that so many alt accounts could be around, because for myself, I suspect anyone not to be an alt. That's something that Annauer, you really have done. And I would like to know if I'm the only one that's feeling like this, or Jared, what did this whole Annauer, our Glover alt account thing made to you, and with the trust that you have in the community and into the users?
Well, Unknower is not my first experience with a community member making an alt account. So he's definitely not my first, sacrificing of trust. And I was already, tightening up my bubble since I was already pretty fed up with much of the greater Decentraland community. So I don't think Aeroglaive didn't really get, I don't believe he made it to my DMs to ask questions about himself. I could be mistaken. Maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong. I've always said that I would rather we welcome 100 alt accounts with open arms than to be jadedly rude to one genuine new user. So, like, you know, even though I'm fairly confident I sent Unknower's third alt account emote, and and not a cheap one. It was at least an 8-mana emote. But like I would happily burn 100 good wearables and emotes sent to an alt account to make sure that we are greeting the next new person. So admittedly, I have had a hard time. I now just enter new rooms going like hey everybody, hi Unknower's alt.
So
Not that I necessarily think Unknower that you're there with an alt, but I just think that it highlights the point that if I don't know you, I don't trust you anymore. I am definitely at the moment currently not accepting new friend applications.
So this is something that happened after this alt account affair, I would say. New users in Decentraland are getting maybe met with some more, maybe let's just go, you don't trust new users anymore. And I feel kind of the same. I would love to hear the opinions of the others. If maybe this whole topic is totally new for everyone, and for someone here, it's the first time they're hearing, oh my God, Arrowglaive was Unknower. Oh my God. If you want to talk about it, please come up. I see some users in world are also bring some content here, and we have Alan Homwick he was saying a little bit earlier that the whole conversation is making him that he wants to make his own alt account. Awesome. This is not what we wanted to do today here, but I love it. Also, Alan Howick is saying all the issues wouldn't be issues if Decentraland had 1,000+ daily users, because then you could just ignore shit you don't like. So is this maybe the problem? Is our community too small for one person to be an alt account and come back? Is this enough to destroy the trust that we have in new users, whatever, just because the pool that we have is so small?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Alan's 100% correct. If there was, a huge body of users we could all go and hang out with, it wouldn't be nearly the absolute disaster. And just so frustrating when you're like, oh, 50% of last week's new users were Unknower or alt accounts. I apologize, Unknower. That felt tacky or insulting. It's, just, and it could have been anyone because 50% of our new users were Jaren. Great. That's not good. No one feels good about that information.
So,
Or
Anna,
that
I see
revelation.
you unmuted your mic. Would you like to add something to this?
I was just gonna jokingly say to Jared that I don't mind what he's saying. At least he's not calling me a Nazi.
Of all the
Awesome.
terrible things I've ever said, I've never said that.
Awesome. This was the first Nazi joke or request on W.T.F. Awesome. So we have this now. Thank you very much for this. I think this whole topic
Well,
is
sorry,
something.
can I clarify?
Give me a second. I would love to keep it on this topic because Anna, I know there's some discussion that you have with other users here in World, and I don't like, because I think we really need to change the way that we are communicating, and especially bringing such topics up and then just dropping them and then talking about them or explaining it. This is something that in my eyes is very, very harmful for the whole community, for the whole experience of Decentraland. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna not talk about it anymore, or you guys are now putting everything on the table and just explaining what this talk is about. So please decide. It's up to you. And I saw Julia Sky is coming up as a speaker, so please decide fast so that I can bring someone else up who maybe wants to stay on the topic.
I mean, I feel like it's tangentially related, but I don't want to spend too much time on it because I know that I'm not any, I have no intolerance at all. So calling me that just shows that somebody doesn't know me. But I did find it upsetting that somebody would make that accusation and then not come up to back it up. So
This is so vague as it can be. So I would like to keep it just off the table tonight, because I feel that we need some other people to share their opinions on this. And this is something that I think we can provide in the space tonight. So what I would love to, after this conversation, if you have the time, if you have the head for it, please talk together and maybe bring it out of the world, or maybe fight about it. I don't know, but I think this topic needs to be solved. I don't know if this is the right space. I see we have another speaker on the rise coming up. I will let Julia Sky be first, and on the rise, you're the next coming in then. So thank you very much, Julia Sky. So what's your experience or your opinion about alt accounts in the Decentraland? Is it freedom of identity or abuse of trust?
Hey, Toxic. This is an interesting topic. I would say it's all about intentions and what you're doing with your alternative account. Whether you are using an alternative account to harass people on the internet, pretend to be someone else, to just start selling things that aren't your own, or just being a pirate in general, or if you're using an alternative account to just be an anonymous artist. Because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter Spaces, they don't want to put their face to their art because they want to see if their art will actually sell, not the brand, but if people just enjoy their art and music without being, without having anonymity, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes there is power in having anonymity. Guys,
Anonymity.
It's a hard
Anonymity.
word.
that is a tongue twister of
Yes,
a word.
it is.
But there is an interesting experiment where I've seen many artists go anonymous just to see if their art is popular just based on their art and not by their name or their brand. And if people are kind and caring and using their alternative account for good rather than evil, then I think it's fine. There's so many people that go anonymous because they don't want to put their face on the internet, or they don't want to be known for maybe they want to do something different that's not their usual type of art, or something that people aren't going to be like, oh, because people tend to put you in a box. You do one thing and people just assert you with that type of one-dimensional identity, and some people want to experiment with other identities, which I think is totally freedom of speech. We should be able to. However, if it's harming other people in any type of way, I definitely think each individual person should be judged based on how their actions are with their alternative account.
I thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming up, Gia, because this is such a nice take on the whole topic. I didn't had on my mind this view on alt accounts, to see it as a way to express your art, maybe away from your normal being. Like, sheesh, Julia, thank you very much for coming up and sharing this with us. I see.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of artists, who just, are scared to, also people who are scared to put themselves out. They're scared to be judged, and they want to just be judged or seen for the merit of their own art rather than the brand they build up or whatever. Or I think it does give you freedom to just kind of put yourself more out there without people knowing exactly who you are, and just kind of gently jumping into the pool of artistry.
Awesome, thank you. I would like to bring up On the Rise next. So On the Rise, please get ready. You should be able to be a speaker now. Hello, On the Rise. I hope it's working. Okay, I can't. Oh, there she is. So On the Rise, hello, how are you? And how are you feeling about alt accounts? Do you want to share something or have a thought you would like to add?
Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Noah. We
Hello.
prayed for Earl Grey. We spent a lot of time together at the cinema and all of that. And I really want to get to more of why the community made you feel to the point where you felt like you had to do an alternate account and get that feedback. I mean, we've always were very open and honest with you, accepting all of that. And I've felt, shut down a few times from this community also. I think we all have had some misunderstandings. And I just want you to know that I feel really bad that you felt like you had to go through that kind of measure. to try to figure out a place where you fit or if you even belonged here or not. I just want you to know that we do welcome you here, at least at the Bit Cinema, and I'm sorry that you had to go through all that.
Thanks, On the Rise.
Thank,
Am I allowed to
thank
respond,
you.
Tox? Or?
I would like to thank you very much, On the Rise, for coming up and telling us this. I wrote down a question out of this. I would like to ask you, Anoa. So, yeah, why did you felt the need to do it when there were in Decentraland people like On the Rise said in the Bit Cinema that valued you for who you were? And wasn't this enough for you? This, why did you felt the need in the end to really do it if there were still people that supported you as a person that you were?
I don't know. Maybe we all remember things differently, and some things we say to people, we don't realize the impact we have on them. But to be completely transparent with you, On the Rise, I remember seeing some posts about the people that went to the Regenesis Summit in Lisbon that I felt included in,
Yeah.
that I felt a little bit targeted by, and were kind of accusing us of
And I
being a
totally
little
understand that.
dishonest. So not to
And
say it was only
but
you
I
or
also
anything, but it's
I also publicly apologize for that. I deleted my post, and I also publicly and privately tried to apologize for that.
yeah,
Emotions were running high.
you did, and I thank you for
We all
that.
Sorry, I just want to grab in because, this space, I really would like to talk open. So On the Rise, when you're saying you deleted a post, can you tell us what kind of post you deleted? Because I would like to give some context for anyone who is listening.
Basically, Knesset and Unknower were basically kind of like reps for the community about how we felt about the DAO and what was going on. And then they both just came back and wrote that thing about how they believed that this was the best direction that we take. And I just felt like they didn't communicate with them what we all had wanted them to communicate with, and which was wrong, because they were trying to communicate those things with the foundation, but were unsuccessful about it. But yeah, I mean, emotions were running high then. None of us, at least in my team, wanted to see anything centralized. We didn't think that was the correct step, and just felt kind of betrayed at that point. And I wrote what I wrote, but then I deleted it and I apologized about it. I know that there's people in Decentraland that when there's a pink elephant in the room, nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wants to have the conflict or the hard discussions that we're having like here today.
Okay, thank you, On the Rise. Anna, would you like to add anything to that?
I guess this is also a lesson I'm learning as well, is anything you post, people are going to misinterpret, and deleting it, even if you delete it, might not be enough to undo that in their eyes, I guess, or in their heart. And I've obviously made that mistake myself. If people are accusing me of posting things that are literally the most hateful, like imaginable thing, I'm still
Yes.
curious what they think I was posting. That was because this is something that came up in the chat, that I was cross posting, you know, extremist things, we'll say, on my X account. I don't think that was ever the case. And if I ever did, I feel like it would be almost as a joke or something. Like I can't imagine what could make somebody think that I was posting. I don't know. It just
Okay, let's come back to the topic. I'm sorry, I really don't want to give you the feeling that your thoughts are not valuable or not worth to be heard, Anna. It's just that this topic is so big, and I would like to keep it, on topic.
yeah. I mean, it is a
Um,
big part in why I felt the need to leave, though, and
so do you right now thinking maybe this is something that brings us a little bit back to the topic, because it's about alt accounts for everyone who is here listening now, or coming in new. If you have something to say, feel free to raise your hand and I will bring you up as a speaker. So yeah, Anna, I wanted to call you Altnauer. I'm sorry. It's late here in Germany.
I'm minting that
So
toxic.
okay. Feel free to mint it. This one is on me. So yeah, you hit now on the rise talking about how she was experiencing this whole thing. She was sorry that you were going away. She had the feeling that she was there and supporting. And I think many of the community had this feeling towards you and maybe felt a little bit down when you left. So are you having any plans in the future to, I don't know, make good for what you did? That you not even, I think for many, maybe it's not even a problem that you came back as an alt account, but the first place that you just left without saying anything to anyone. Is also something that's maybe in this space that we should talk about in the future when friends are just leaving, and maybe that leaves us with grief or with other feelings. So are there any plans how you would like to make good for it, or how you want to come back in the sense? Because I see you as Anna in DCL right now. So what's your plan now? I can't hear you, Anna, if you're speaking. Can anyone hear Anna talking? Okay, he's back to a listener.
I could not hear him either. But now you're also muted.
Jared, you're the best. Thank you. I was talking. So yeah, I hope you can hear me, friends. And Anna, I hope you come back up to tell us about your plans in the future, and maybe if you want to make up something for what you have did to the community or to individuals here. And sorry, everyone that is listening right now. English is not my first language, and this is a very for me, out of my safe space where I'm talking, because normally I'm talking much at Toxic Tuesday. Just want to say Toxic Tuesday is from now on bi-weekly, and every other week we're going to have W.T.F DCL. So let me see. Can I see if Annauer is back up here? I don't think so. Now, this is very sad. I would have loved to hear him. Maybe he had some technical difficulties. So let's talk about alt accounts again. Anyone here that would like to add some thoughts from the speakers, maybe from someone we haven't heard yet, because I would really love to hear all your opinions about this topic, or maybe something that my speakers would like to add. And I see Anna is coming up again. Great.
It does always put a nice DCL bugs in perspective when you remember that, you know, Twitter sold for billions of dollars and these spaces still don't work very well.
Oh, totally. For me, this is the first X space so far. I'm kind of happy how it's going. Okay, Anna, we have you back. So thank you.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I switched connections because I had to get going to an appointment, and I think I got rugged. Not sure how much you guys heard, but long story short, obviously, I feel like there's so much work for me to do to regain the trust of this community that it almost seems insurmountable, like impossible, and I don't even know where I would start. So I, maybe my question to you guys is there anything I could do to get it back to the trust we all had? If I was truly mistaken about everybody's feelings towards me, and I just took a lot of stuff the wrong way, then I don't know. I guess I just wonder how I can begin to kind of repay the debt, or like heal the wounds, I guess.
Okay, this is a very, very interesting thing that you brought up, Anna, and also a question I would like to ask the whole community. I saw Melawolf came up as a speaker. Hello, Melawolf. Please let me tell the next question. Okay, friends. So this is a hard one. Should someone who used an alt account be given a second chance, like Anna is asking us for, or should there be consequences? And how could it look like gaining trust back? What needs to be done? So this is my next question for everyone. And who would like to speak about it, please let me know. Someone from the speakers maybe, or maybe someone new. Julia, Jared on the rise. Meta-Wolf.
I'm not
Okay,
really
Julia.
sure what Unknower did. That was really
I
bad.
can.
And
We can. I
Julia's
can.
too new to
But
answer
I
that.
would say, but I
Okay.
would say that I guess it depends on how level of bad stuff he did to affect people, and I think it's subjective to each person. But I think everyone should be given several warnings, maybe a couple, like 3 chances, maybe we could say, or 2 chances, depending on what he did. That was really bad. That I have no idea. But I would say, yeah, why not? Give this guy a chance. Like, what did
Okay.
he's clearly in this room, and I don't know.
Julia Sky, I love this. I love this very much. So, okay, Julia Sky, who didn't know who Arglaive, I'm sorry, this name is kind of hard to pronounce. Okay, so Julia Sky doesn't really know what Aro did, or what Anawa did as Aro. So it's complicated. So,
Well,
but
was your
but
question
Jared,
about?
please. So Julia is kind of saying if I understand this right, every person deserves a second chance. So let's give Anawa a second chance. This is Julia's take. Jared, since you're already unmuted, what would you like to add?
Is the question about what can he do to make up for his sins as an alt account Aeroglade creator, or what he can do to absolve of his the sins he feels that happened as a knower the first time that led to him feeling a need to step away? I'm just trying to understand the scope of the thing you're asking us to suggest solutions for.
I think we are staying on the topic of alt accounts. So I understood Anawa's question like how we could forgive him for his alt account activities, and I don't count anything that happened before that. I'm not really sure what happened, and to be honest, for tonight, I'm not very interested in it because we need to stay focused. So, alt accounts. How can someone that was an alt account and, left the community, came back, got exposed, what does such a person needs to do to gain back some trust? I think this is the question we are now struggling around.
Okay, I can answer this, I think, while staying on topic, while acknowledging my feelings about the past. So an alt person trying to make amends for their alt account activities would also need to first make amends for the things that they feel that may have been wrong, or the things people in the past that led to them needing to make an alt account for. So whatever it is you did that resulted in you needing to make you feeling you needed to make the alt account, because it's not necessarily, if you made your alt account to get around an unjust, authoritarian ban, maybe you don't feel as though you did anything wrong. That's a different conversation. But I would say that the person would, for hypothetically, let's just say you got a big grant and there was some money left over that you didn't end up utilizing. Maybe you could use that to host some kind of giveaway of your own to the community to not give it back to the DAO. The DAO's just going to waste that money. But if you would just acknowledge okay, I didn't use that money, and for whatever feelings you have around it, you then just use that money in some other way to host an event in the community and just return that money into the community in a way that is building the community up and making it a better place versus don't host an event to be who can make the most convincing alt account, last one to get caught wins. That wouldn't be a good event. But who can build or host the most healing Twitter space, and the winner gets a good chunk of whatever your leftover money that you potentially absconded with, that I think would be a good step in the direction of
Okay,
healing
so
and gaining trust.
these are two very, very different opinions between Julia Sky, who is saying people deserve second chances, and what Jared is saying is bribe the community and give them presents.
No, Julia did acknowledge a need.
I mean, I'm
on the
all
size of your
for
crowd.
presents.
Please.
I think a knower, you should send us all presents for whatever wrong you did.
Yeah,
No, I'm
there
kidding.
are
I
so
don't know,
few.
guys.
There are
I don't
so
know
few
the
users. You can send
situation.
everybody $500, and it'd be problem solved. All 40 of us get $500.
Thanks for the input. I would like to take a close look at what's going on in Decentraland because we have 25 users in world. Thank you so much for being there. And they are also discussing the whole thing. So what I see here right now is Aaron Holwick, who is very communicative today, and thank you very much for this. He is saying, imagine there were 100 humans left in a zombie apocalypse. That is us in Decentraland. tensions will always be high when fighting for survival. Interesting take on this. And multi-NFT has some questions about Annauer's alt account actions. He's asking, so you had some fights with other users like Jared and created an alt account without getting banned. So I think this is a very, very simplified version of what happened. So Alan Howick is
Why is
saying,
multi gonna drag me into this? This fight was with Dr.
you can
Drip.
ask, please don't interrupt me, and you can ask him this in Word. Alan Howick is saying, in my opinion, if you are a human, then we have to work together, even if we don't like each other very much. And I think this is a very valid point. He's also adding, if we are not careful, the central will cease to exist, and there will be nobody to argue with in the end. And that's a very interesting opinion on this. So I just want to say MetaWolf came up earlier to speak. MetaWolf, would you like to add something to the whole topic of alt accounts, or wanted you to say something especially about how someone could make up for being an alt account?
Sorry, Toxic. I
So
hate to interrupt, but unfortunately, I do have to drop off. I just wanted to tell everyone thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk, and I'll definitely come back and listen to the rest of the space later to see what everybody see how the conversation evolves. Long story short, on what I did to make me feel like I wanted to leave is I got a grant, and people didn't feel like I. Um, some people think that some of it wasn't used appropriately, so that's the long and short of it. We could probably spend multiple hours talking about all the details of that and why I don't necessarily agree. But again, I appreciate you giving me the chance to come up and talk, and I look forward to continuing this discussion on difficult topics in general. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anna, for being here. It's much appreciated that you gave away your opinion today. And so, yeah, friends, let's keep it focused on the topic alt accounts. I see Multi is saying, in world, let's be realistic. We're not going to go along with everyone here. So he doesn't even understand where the whole problem is. So, and Jared, you were just an example from Multi to make this clear. Okay, MetaWolf, thanks for waiting and sorry for interrupting you. Please, the stage is yours.
hi guys. So I just agree with Julia. I mean, depends on how you, I mean, why you do an alt account, your intentions. I mean, I spent my last 10 years in a community, not Decentraland, in another one, where there are tons of alt accounts, mostly because there are like people that usually ruin their, how can I say, the personal perception in the community, and they just want to try to purify themselves by making another account and try to rebuild their personal opinion in the community. I think yes, I mean giving a second chance is the right things to do if the person is very interested in come back in a positive and constructive way. Obviously depends what this person did. In the case of Haunover, I mean, I don't know exactly what he did. He just explained it something, but I feel like there is like the some base where he can build again his trust in the community.
I'm not sure if I understand your point, MetaWolf. Could you please elaborate on it for me?
Yeah, sorry, I just finished work. I'm a bit uh, tired. I mean, as Julia said, depends why you did an alt account because sometimes like people want to do bad things sometimes people like ruin their uh, personal image in the community. So maybe they want to restart from zero, and depends on why you want to do your alt account. And in this case of nowhere, I mean, I didn't know what he did, but if you like, if you want to come back and he already spent time apologizing and try to talk with the community, this is a good way to restart, I feel. So, yes, in this case, in this kind of people, the right things to do is to give a second chance.
Okay, so MetaWolf is also on team second chances, and
Mhm.
you are saying basically that coming up and talking about the things that happened is something that already makes it better. I really love this point of view. And I saw that Sinful Meat Sticks came up as a speaker. So Sinful, what is your opinion on alt accounts? Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, a lot of the points that I kind of like that I would say have already been spoken on. You know, it's all about intent. Um, I mean, it's okay to have an alt account. Like, come on now. Um, and to tell you the truth, I think, and toxic, maybe this is like a bigger topic that we can that you can cover maybe one day or whatever. Like maybe it's like it comes down to like having your own personal etiquette in the like when you're on the internet. It's like, you know, you don't let people in unless like they've already like, you know, checked out some boxes for you or like whatever. It's like verified human. I don't know. So yeah, that those are kind of my thoughts on alt accounts. Now, like team second chance, like I mean, what kind of what kind of community would we be if we did not like strive to give second chances? So, I mean, definitely on team second chance. Um, I mean, there's a lot of probably obstacles maybe in this scenario that perhaps maybe unknower will have to take the hurdle on. But like in all honesty, it's like just be yourself, be you, uh, bring bring value, and yeah, support your friends. That's all. Be the real, be yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for this, Sinful. In the Decentraland, we have quite a discussion right now about alt accounts, and I see that many in the audience don't see it as a big thing that someone left the community and came back as someone else without telling anyone who it is. So I really think we have different opinions on this. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing it. I also see. Okay, I think I covered it. So thank you very much also inward for everyone who is part of this discussion. And yeah, I think this is kind of the end of this episode because the last question I wanted to ask everyone is, and I'm happy Anwar brought this up by himself, if we should allow a second chance when someone has disrupted the trust in the community, because this is something that I personally think has happened, that kind of a border got crossed. And I'm very happy that we talked today about this. And I would like to give everyone of the speakers here a chance to add, or if someone here in the audience on X would like to add something totally new, this is now your chance, so please raise your hand. If not, I would like to go from speaker to speaker to get your last opinions on this, if this is right with everyone. And thank you very much. So I don't see any new speakers coming up here. And so I would like to ask Jared any last thoughts on the topic alt accounts.
You know, just if you're gonna be a dick as yourself, and otherwise don't be a dick.
Awesome, thank you. Sinful, any last thoughts on this?
I mean, on the overall topic, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. But thank you for hosting this space, Toxic. Thank you for taking the time and allowing the opportunity for a knower to speak. I know that it may have not been easy on all ends, but the conversation was had, and much respect for that. Yeah, have a great night, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting Toxic Tuesdays. Or I'm sorry, what the fuck? Or we talk facts. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Sinful. Andreas, do you have any last thoughts you would like to share?
Yes, I just want to say that we don't always know what people's mental health is and what people are going through. And if we could all do our job and just being as understanding as we can and open to talk about things like this, these kinds of things, I think that we could all grow as a community.
Thank you very much, Andreas, for this very positive last words. Melawolf, would you like to add anything?
Actually, no. I think that we touch every kind of possible thing. Mm. So
Okay.
yes, just to be himself and prove that he want to actually come back as himself.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Melawolf. So I don't see any new speakers coming up, and we crossed the line. We're half an hour over our time. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here for my first X space. It's been a ride for me, and I had very much. I don't want to say fun, because I think we need to be very serious on this topic. But I also appreciated that you all were this kind and thoughtful in the conversations. So I would like to bring a good close up to this. So, in my opinion, there's no clear right or wrong here. But what matters is that we start having these conversations out loud and not in whispers. So, because if we want to build something real in Decentraland, we need to talk about the messy parts too. And I thank you all very much for being here and just doing this. And yeah, this was our first episode of WTF. We Talk Facts Decentraland. Thank you all much for being part of this. See you next week to Toxic Tuesday and in 2 weeks for another episode of WTF. And if you have any topics you would like to have discussed here, feel very, very free to slide into my DMs. And thank you guys. See you in world and bye.